name is Ian, and I'll be hosting the session about IoT today. And can everybody hear me clear at the back? Can you hear me, sir? Yes? Okay, perfect, thank you. It's a quick 30 minutes, which is the challenge, and it's impossible to cram every piece of information into these 30 seconds so that you go back empowered and you know everything about the industrial IoT of things. That's a challenge. I am, however, I will try my best to give you some nuggets of information, and perhaps you will be able to use one or two of them and look at the broader vision of where IoT of industry is going, where IoT of things is going. There's a huge connection between IoT and cloud, and as part of the CloudExpo, I think it's relevant and it's 100% accurate for us to be talking about IoT. IoT itself is becoming a very deep subject where you've got IoT of consumers, IoT of machines, M2M, IoT of things in so many different ways. And how do we make sense of it, and how do we really encapsulate all that information so that we can apply it in our work or in the technologies that we work with every day is, I guess, what we all have been doing since yesterday, today, and will be doing tomorrow. This is a typical situation that we all probably know about, that the refrigerator is going to tell you that you've got less number of eggs or you've got to pick up milk, and we've seen this probably 1,000 times. And really, this is something of IoT as well. And IoT as a technology, it's sometimes vague and weird about it's IoT of everything, it's IoT of things, it's IoT of devices, it's IoT of cars. There's just way too many things happening. How do we make sense of it all? How do we distill it down to just a few key points? Just to recap very quickly what IoT is. IoT is the Internet of Things. And what are these things? The things are everything. Everything that can be sensor enabled, from your chair to your shoes, to your pen, to your cell phone. Of course, it's a device anyways. To your cars, to your homes, to your clothes even. Everything and anything that can have a sensor to measure something, and that sensor has an IP address, you potentially have the mixture for IoT. This is what IoT is all about. And the applications of IoT are quite a few. There's a lot of them. So first of all, you can connect any device to the internet. Anybody can connect to those devices. And I'm not going to talk a lot about this. I know you've probably had an overload of this the entire time yesterday and today. IoT can be used in businesses for services. It can be connected with networks. You'll have a lot of data that'll get generated. IoT can be enabled anywhere, any place, anytime. It's a lot. And I think we're at the very starting point of truly accepting the value of IoT and really what value it can bring for us. A typical chart that shows the growth of a technology, I know Gartner does a lot of them. This one talks about the number of connected devices will exceed by X amount by 2020, and that number is 50 billion. So between 2012, or let's say we're here at 2015, we're almost at 18 billion devices today, and we're going to go to 50 billion in the next 5 years. So that's like a threefold increase in the total number of devices that will be connected to the internet, to IoT in some way, in some means, whether it's consumer IoT, whether it's refrigerators. But that number is going to increase in a huge way. And I personally believe this number will get revised next year, and it will be 65 billion. And the year after, it might be 75 billion. So really, by 2020, I think this number is going to be close to 100 billion devices, because that's how technology is growing. It's growing exponentially. It's not growing linearly anymore. And specifically, when a certain technology is at a fast growing pace, and I'll show you that in the next few slides, it will grow much more rapidly than it has been in the past. So let's just accept that fact, that IoT will be a huge part of the industry. It's not going anywhere. So how do we really work with IoT, and what can we do with it? The Internet of Things landscape touches a lot of different things, a lot of different industries, if you're talking about industries in general. This is a slide by Goldman Sachs, and they do a lot of investments into technologies. They hold a stake in hundreds and hundreds of technology companies. So anybody who doesn't know GNS, they are actually a huge technology backer. So they know what they're talking about. You're talking about wearables, you're talking about connected cars to connected homes. These are the typical guys that we encounter. But then to expand it more into business, you're talking about addressing the needs of certain verticals when it comes to IoT and deriving value and unlocking value for those verticals using IoT. Connected cities, industrial internet, transportation, oil and gas, and healthcare. I was having a conversation with somebody, I think yesterday, and I mentioned, I don't know if he's here in the audience today, I said to him, if you watch Minority Report, the Tom Cruise movie, you will know what's coming out for IoT. You'll know everything. Or if you watch any of the new technology movies where it's about the future, you know something is going to happen in the X amount of years with a certain technology. How many of us are Back to the Future fans here? All right, see. So just a few days ago, we had Back to the Future Day when the day was predicted, and it was the day when Marty McFly went back to the future. And a lot of newspapers covered the day and said, hey, a lot of these predictions have actually come true, including the hoverboard to some extent. But you could really see that a lot of those things have actually happened. And so if you watch a futuristic movie, you know what's happening tomorrow, really. And all of these things, all of a sudden, don't feel impossible that they'll happen. There's a huge possibility they'll happen, and I'm sure they'll happen. A lot of developments are taking place with them now, and I'll show you some of those things today. So, Internet of Things is primarily composed of three major areas: industrial, consumer, and machine-to-machine. I don't think I need to explain them, but these are the three big buckets you can segregate IoT in. So next time somebody talks about IoT, ask them, are you talking about consumer IoT or industrial IoT? Because there's a huge difference in the applications, there's a huge difference in the way it will be used and consumed and value unlocked from it. Gartner comes out with its hype cycle of technologies every now and then. And this is literally the hype cycle of technologies over time. Here being the very initial days of a technology when it's still growing, it's rising, it reaches more of a stable point, and then it goes through its life cycle, the product life cycle part of it. And right now, this is a slide that's a couple of years old. IoT is really gaining a lot of momentum when it comes to, in terms of adoption and hype. It's gaining a lot of momentum. Whereas cloud computing now is becoming more of a stable thing. Now it's going to go into its own plateau. So IoT definitely at many levels, and I was doing some research for my presentation today. There's definitely a lot of applications that are happening with IoT right now. I was at a Microsoft event just a few weeks ago, and they talked about this cool application that one of their customers is doing. And I have a slide about that just in a few seconds. IoT is also among the top 3 technological disruptions in the next 10 years. So if you're working in the technology industry, which I assume all of you are, make disruption your best friend. If you're talking about something disruptive, truly, it will be a game changer. So that disruptive angle is always something that new technologies have to have in order to succeed. And IoT is not just one technology that one company is doing, and maybe there's a chance for it to fail. No. It is something that is being adopted by and far by a lot of different companies, and they want to build solutions around IoT. So this is a guaranteed industry that will grow. It's guaranteed. I can give that to you in writing. So if you want to be involved within the IoT space, your company wants to do business, it's the right time to get into it. So among the top 3 technologies, Mobile internet being the topmost, automation of knowledge work. There's cloud technology, which is actually not among the top 3, but these are all pretty significant, all of these technologies. Renewable energy is down there, although we're all waiting for that to happen. So it's just a fact that, just a slide to emphasize where IoT is going within the next few years, next 10 years. And this is a slide by McKinsey. So it's the concept of the knowledge worker. All of us are knowledge workers. We all work with technologies, building our knowledge, and that's the industry we're talking about. Now, IoT is not only just cool, so because our refrigerator works on IoT and it tells us how many, what are we low on, but IoT is also creating new ways to do business. It's creating new business opportunities, and I think all of you probably are interested in the way you can use IoT to change things, create the next best product. IoT will help companies create new value streams for customers, speed time to market, and respond more rapidly to customer needs. There's a few products that I will talk about in my presentation as we go on, and you'll see how some companies are unlocking value by creating IoT-related products. You've got other aspects such as real-time monitoring of mission-critical systems. Mission-critical systems could be a power plant. It could be controlling a space vehicle. It could be monitoring the temperature within a healthcare facility. There could be so many different uses of something that's mission critical. Diversification of revenue streams. Obviously, when you start transforming your business model, you're talking about changing the revenue stream as well. And I have a couple of examples of how you can change revenue, how revenue generation changes when your business model changes. And the aspects of visibility, efficiency, intelligent operations, and so on. I will share these slides with you. You can take a deeper look. But essentially, IoT is opening up a huge plethora of innovative ways to generate revenue. And that's what I meant by getting involved in this space in order to do more. The business view of IoT, though, is a bit different. When it comes to industrial IoT, it's more complex. It's more about helping other businesses capitalize on the opportunity, or how do I, as a technology provider, as an IoT provider, help your company generate more revenue? And that's the industrial view, enterprise view of Internet of Things. You're talking about the business functions, for example, smart connected workplace. How do I apply IoT to that? How do I apply IoT to enhance and extend IT as an example? Or extend business intelligence and so on. And the domains of operation within that are many. Medical, industrial, retail, office, logistics. There's a lot of applications. This is a slide that GE had put up. And according to them, efficiency gains as small as 1% could have a sizable benefit over 15 years when scaled up across the economic system. So according to GE, even if we leverage 1% of IoT, they could see so much revenue generation and so much value unlocking. 90 billion in savings from reduced capex in oil and gas industry. That's a lot. That's a huge number. You're talking about $66 billion in fuel cost savings within the power industry, only if they leverage 1% of the value that IoT can unlock for them. So for organizations, companies, enterprises, the value of IoT is tremendous. And that's why companies like GE, like Microsoft, ThyssenKrupp, they're investing a lot in IoT, because that's the next big thing. They want to ride the wave. They want to create the wave on which everybody else can ride. And you're talking numbers in billions. So I took some time and I researched 6 really awesome industrial IoT use cases. Who are the people who are actually using IoT right now to change things? I really wanted to know myself as well. And I found 6 companies. There's many more. There's many more. You could put together at least 100 use cases. But here's 6 which I found interesting that I felt like sharing with you. So Bosch, we know Bosch, they're an industrial equipment slash electronics slash tool manufacturer, a very famous company. Their concept of using IoT is to use IoT in the maintenance tools world, in the manufacturing. So they are already exploring options between the interconnection and management of industrial tools in the manufacturing world. Imagine the number of manufacturing facilities in the world, right? From car manufacturers to technology to equipment to tools. There's literally thousands and millions of companies that are in the tools manufacturing or manufacturing industry in general. So Bosch is planning to have IoT enabled within their tools, let's say their riveting tool, tightening tools, measurement tools. And as these get used in, let's say, the aircraft industry, to measure what's happening with the tool. How much work has the tool done? How do I optimize that? And remember, there's a lot of data generated with any IoT. Essentially, it is capturing data from your end sensors that are actually in touch with, with the end user. It's about gathering that data and what do you do with that data. So that's what Bosch is trying to do. And depending on the specific location of each tool, the appropriate program for the task at hand is automatically deployed on the tool. That's very cool. So you could use a spanner within different areas within the same manufacturing facility, but as soon as you take it to a different line of manufacturing, it'll automatically download the code and it'll automatically know what to do at that assembly line. And you can imagine if you put it in service at 10 different assembly lines, it can do 10 different things without you having to calibrate it. It'll automatically do that. So now tools are intelligent. It's not like they have a mind of their own, but no, you can program them so that you're saving time on efficiency. Anybody heard of ThyssenKrupp? ThyssenKrupp, there we go. So ThyssenKrupp is a huge manufacturer of elevators, just like Otis. I think there's just a couple of big manufacturers of elevators. So ThyssenKrupp works with Microsoft and CGI to develop a solution that connects ThyssenKrupp's thousands of sensors and systems in its elevators that monitor everything from motor temperature to shaft alignment, cab speed, door functioning to the cloud with Microsoft Azure IoT services. Now, ThyssenKrupp is monitoring millions and millions of their elevators. And right even before there is a need for an elevator to be maintained, or a bearing goes bust, or a cable is torn, or a switch stops working, they already know that there is a huge possibility that this might happen because of predictive analytics. Because their sensors are already measuring every moving part constantly, they know what kind of amount of load is on the bearings in a certain specific elevator. And they can send the technician out there to do maintenance even before it's needed, so that it doesn't break down. And that tremendously changes the way we are interacting with everything around us. This is changing efficiency for them. This is essentially changing the way they've been doing maintenance in the first place. Now you know what is going to break down. Just like in the Tom Cruise movie again, Tom Cruise would know who is going to commit that crime, and he would arrest that person even before that crime is committed. So something of that sort. You've got to watch Minority Report. And that's amazing. Imagine all elevator manufacturers are using this technology to measure, to maintain. It'll dramatically change how things are done. It'll change profitability. It'll change maintenance forever. In Canada, BC Hydro is using something within the Smart Meter and Clean Energy program to deploy smart meters and smart grids across their service area. And they've spent about $900 million doing this. And their whole objective is to enable over-the-air firmware upgrades and remote monitoring to reduce theft by 75%. So they're using sensors within their electric motors, in their in their meters, to measure what's happening. using smart meters, and now they're reducing theft. They're saving $330 million in just meter readings, and over 224 million in saved self-service tools. So that's how somebody is unlocking value within the energy industry, specifically in the electricity world. Some of you might have heard of Lukoil. They are an oil and gas company, and they're using IoT to change the way they're drilling oil, or they're maintaining their efficiency of oil, and changing the way oil is being really, how they are doing the core part of their business. Their terminals operate as low as minus 47 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's really, really cold areas within the North Sea. And they're using IoT to connect to to a lot of different sensors, as I mentioned earlier, offshore, underwater pipelines, just to measure what's happening with our pipelines. Is our pipeline under some kind of a stress? Is it cracking? And they know that before that happens, because of the element of the predictive analytics. So when you talk about big data and analytics and information and data, it's a huge part of IoT. In the Middle East, a company called SK Solutions is using IoT. They're involved with SAP. They're using IoT to capture information from sensors installed on machinery throughout the customer's site. The information is collected, analyzed in real time for contextual details about every activity at the location. So they're able to see everything, have complete visibility into what is happening at the customer premises. And yes, it's more complex than saying that. But essentially, you're able to capture value, and in their case, reduce downtime by as much as 30%. So a lot of it goes back to efficiency. A lot of it goes back to being able to do things in a better way. And I hope these randomly different examples give you a small insight into how can we unlock value within different industries, and what can you do with IoT. Rio Tinto in Australia is using IoT in a futuristic mine that aims to change the mining industry forever. The mine uses autonomous equipment and technology that aims to holistically overhaul mining processes to reduce environmental impact and improve worker safety. And for those of you who are connected with sustainability, you know how big of a part that is for companies today. Being sustainable, being able to have sustainable operations. It's not only about going green and going paperless, but organizations today are investing millions of dollars just to be a little bit more sustainable. They have huge departments that are just, their sole purpose is to find out ways to be more sustainable. And they've connected their sensors to their trucks that are really finding out ways of how to be more efficient within their specialty, which is mining. And that brings me to the next topic, is IoT monetization. So IoT is great. IoT works fine. We can apply it to so many different industries and things. But how is IoT connected to the cloud, and what can we do to IoT using the cloud? I think one of the things that we need to realize is that deriving value can take different forms. One of them being to be able to monetize that functionality of IoT. So if I have a new device that does a certain function, I could say that I'm trying to monetize that aspect of it and generate some revenue for my organization or for my company. Whether that is through increasing efficiency, whether that is decreasing costs, in the end, it's all about the dollar value. And there are a lot of ways to do that. But we need to remember that without the cloud, you cannot have IoT. And it is essential to have a mechanism that is able to connect those sensors to your systems and do the measurements and do the enablement and track and monitor and send back and forth that information. And that's where the cloud comes in. So we moved from knowing the cloud, which is this magical system up there somewhere and we can connect to it, to monetization of the cloud, So let's try and find different ways to drive revenue through the cloud. And now we're talking about IoT. And logically, the next thing has to be monetizing IoT. How do we monetize IoT? And really, monetization of everything. This is my own term. How do we monetize everything and each and everything that we do? I was also trying to coin up a term called the IoT of everything, because everything is cloud and cloud is connected to IoT. I know the terminology can get confusing, but we can play around with it. So this is where we are in terms of monetizing and in terms of IoT. We've really progressed from the cloud, and we're at the monetization of IoT right now. How to drive revenue value from IoT. So if you see this term somewhere, don't be scared. This is what we're talking about these days. Let me talk a little bit about our cloud platform called Powua. And I will make this as non-vendor pitch as possible. Powua is a cloud management platform that is able to enable SaaS, PaaS, IaaS services. It can meter, provision. It can do a bunch of different things. And this is the core of our business. This is what we do as a company. But to understand how IoT can be monetized, how can we create revenue out of IoT, we have to understand what are the elements that lie behind that monetization of IoT. And cloud monetization is very close to that. So there's 4 essential elements that you need in order to monetize anything. It is your IoT device. You need this mechanism to monetize that. You have a sensor out in the field that you want to monetize. You need to have this mechanism enabled. And this could potentially be non-Powua, non-MySolution related. It could be anybody else. But you absolutely need these 4 elements to work together to be able to capture that value.
Well, the font is too small. What are those 2?
Okay, I'm going to pull them up and I'm going to talk about them. My apologies if that font is small. So the first thing is provisioning. So I have 1,000 IoT sensors that I want to deploy out in the field and collect massive amounts of data. How am I enabling those sensors? That's the provisioning aspect of things. It's called provisioning. How do I provision a device that I want to start sending me data? And I give the example of Nike selling shoes based on the number of steps you take. So imagine Nike comes up and says, guys, we're not going to charge you for shoes no more. So every time you go to the store, we're just going to activate the shoe with a barcode reader or a sensor. And you don't have to pay us anything for that shoe. But instead, every 10,000 steps you take, we're going to charge you $1 or $2 or $6. That's up to them. So we really love that idea, and we're like, wow, I can pick up any Nike shoe? Yes, you can. No charge? No. But it's going to be different amounts that you will pay for steps. So for the basic shoe, you might be paying $1 for 10,000 steps. But for the higher end shoe, you might be paying $5 for every 10,000 steps. Now, this is the dirty work that vendors and companies who have these products have to do to connect to a new business model. How do I connect? How do I create a new business model that will show me, that my end users will consume? And that's the provisioning aspect of it. How will IoT devices get provisioned so that end users start using it? You could talk about tires, Pirelli or Firestone, or any of tires that are on your car. If manufacturers stopped charging you for those tires at the store and they started charging you for every 100 kilometers that you went, that would dramatically change the business model and the revenue model of that device. So provisioning, being able to provision it, activate it, is the step that absolutely has to be taken. You're then metering or monitoring that device. So now Nike has to measure and monitor my steps. They've got to have some mechanism so that they can read the data of my shoes or my tires or my wheels. They've got to be able to get that data and say, all right, he walked 15,000 steps. Now we have to bill him for those steps. So that's the metering part of it. And within different types of IoT, you've got the challenge is to be able to create that mechanism to align your units with the monetary units. 1 step is equal to $1, or 5 kilometers on the wheel or 6 cents. And that's the work that vendors, companies who have these technologies and products is what we have to do. There's an element of billing. So after I've taken those 10,000 steps in those shoes, Nike needs to be able to send me a charge statement or a bill at the end of the month, week, day, as they choose, that here's your bill. You walked 25 kilometers this month, and here's your bill. And that could automatically be credited from my credit card or whatever have you. Within an industrial setting, if you're a tool manufacturer like Bosch and you're leasing your tools, and you're charging customers based on the amount of work your tools do, the amount of nuts my screwdriver are able to tighten on a single day. It's 10 cents per nut. You've got to be able to bill that amount back. Again, provision, meter, and bill. You've got to be able to do that. There's a fourth element, which is the store. And the store or the enterprise catalog can be used in a setting within, let's say, the industrial IoT of things, where Bosch goes into a power plant with 10,000 pieces of its drill, as an example, and tells them, here's a portal that you can go, look at the serial numbers of the devices, of the instruments, log on, and you can activate them on that store. So now Bosch is giving that option to the company it sold its equipment to automatically enable those devices. And that can be done through a store or a catalog, as we say. So these four elements are essential when you're talking about not just IoT. We're becoming very granular now. We're talking about how to enable an IoT device, how to take those measurements from that IoT device, and how to bill customers for that IoT device. And for this, cloud is essential. We have to do this through the cloud. You could have a bunch of different technologies that you're working with, whether it's the Azures, the VMware, providers of infrastructure services, your data centers, where all that data will be held. Because at the end of this, there's a lot of data that's coming in. There's a lot of exchange of data. We're not talking big data, but we're just talking a lot of usage data, enablement data, provisioning data that's coming back and forth.
So your added value is to orchestrate the entire operation?
Our value as a company?
Yeah, your engine.
Yes, one of the aspects, yes.
So the slides we shared with you?
Absolutely, yes. So Powua as a solution can do two different things. And I had to modify this a bit from my other slides. So as it can connect providers to customers. So in case you have a provider that's providing, let's say, computing power or IoT devices that have many different elements, you can also have an element of how much hydro is my customer using, how much power are they using. And I've added these weird ones, business loan, business taxes, and municipal taxes, because you can build those within your cloud monetization model as well. And you can take all of those things, consolidate them into one essential engine, which is the Powua solution, and then translate that into different types of IoT. Now, one example of this could be, if you're a manufacturer of, let's say you're Nike again and you're doing your shoes, you're able to not only just take the manufacturing costs of your shoes, but you're also able to take the operational costs that your company endures within that facility or as a company as a whole. You're able to break that down and essentially create a revenue model based through the solution and pass it on to your customers, depending on the devices. I can speak to you guys about this in detail because I know I'm running out of time. And essentially, you're able to take any of your costs, whether it's manufacturing cost, operational cost, create a billing model, billing mechanism, and pass it on to your customers, whether it's consumer IoT, industrial IoT, or machine-to-machine learning. And Just very quickly, as a company, we are based out of Toronto, Canada. My name again is Ian. I'm the Director of Innovation. And we've been in business since 1994, over 3,000 customers worldwide, over 200 people. We have our own data center. And really our focus is twofold. One is cloud management / monetization, which really translates into so many different things. IoT, yes. Virtual machines, yes, because it is a complex mechanism. SaaS, yes, we do that too. And it's not as simple as, do you guys do SaaS? Yes, we do SaaS, but what aspect of SaaS? So you've got to be able to ask the right questions and find out what it is that you want. This is just a subset of our customers. We've been serving these customers for many, many years, and we're trying to consolidate all that information that we've gained from working within these sectors and really create a revolution when it comes to changing the way we're doing things and changing technology. And IoT is just one small aspect of our overall business focus and where we are going as a technology company. I hope the presentation provided some food for thought, something different. I know it's an overload of information here at the show, but I hope I was able to show you something different, and I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Could you go back to the landscape of your customer? Looking at this, it looks like...
Thank you, folks. Yeah, please go ahead.
Your customers are mainly, I should say, that you're selling B2B.
We are, yes. Yeah, so we are in the B2B space. We are not in the B2C. And we're doing a bunch of different things with different guys. Like we're also in the energy sector, and we've really worked closely with those folks as well. So yes. Thank you so much, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks very much. Thank you. I do, yes. Thank you. I really appreciate your questions.
Well,
Oh, you are?
business cards?
Okay, let's connect. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yes, thank
You
you.
work in the education sector, especially higher ed, because I'm focused on that for a long time. And I'm hearing more and more just monitoring various activities.
Thank you, sir. There's a lot going on. Absolutely. I think a lot of that is coming in from other sectors. There you go. We'll catch up. Yeah, I know. I'm going to do the job. Thanks so much. Not a lot. We're trying to get into that space. I don't have anything. Thanks very much. I think a lot. Thank you so much.
I'm Anthony. I connected with you, so I just wanted to say hello. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you.
It's complex and
Should I
thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we should just get on and.
We're also at booth number 515 if you want to pass by and yeah, all right. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Hey, how's it going, sir?
Is it great?
Yeah. You were in the second? Were you in the second? Okay.
I want to see what I can find.
What do you need? Just drop it off and then 515. Yeah, 515. Yeah.
I'll give you my card just so that you know I'm not going.
No, just see me there.